Hello, power users. In this tutorial, we're looking at the three features of Gloo's cookie bundle. Starting with the cookie's dynamic tag, part of Fluid Dynamic, which allows us to return stored cookie data from anywhere on the website. We then have Interactor's cookies connector, which lets us save cookies upon any user interaction. And last but not least, there is the Save Cookies form action from Forms extensions, which lets us save form data into cookies. It's important to note, when working with cookies, make absolutely sure you're compliant with your region's privacy laws. Let's start with the Save Cookies form action. We're going to explore how to save UTM campaign parameters into cookies so that they can follow the user around, regardless of the page they will visit after first landing on our website. Let's create a form and add a hidden form field. Let's label it UTM_campaign and give it the same ID so that we can recognize it. We'll copy it over as we'll need this later. Moving to the Advanced tab, this is where we'll be catching the information we need. As for the default value, we'll be using the request parameter tag, a native Elementor dynamic tag. Let's use get and set UTM campaign as the parameter name. We're essentially catching whatever information is going to be saved under that name. Let's create an example UTM parameter and work with that. Let's add UTM campaign equals my campaign at the end of our link there, mimicking actual UTM parameters. And let's copy the link. Essentially, what's happening here is that once a user lands on this page with certain parameters and fills the form, the hidden field in the form will submit these parameters along with the rest of the data. To use them, however, let's select Save Cookies form action as our action after submit here in the Elementor form. With that selected, we'll get a new menu here. Here in this drop-down menu, we can select between local storage, cookies, and session. Let's pick cookies for this one. Now, if we wanted to save all the information submitted through the form as a single cookie, we would leave this as it is. However, right now we only want to catch the UTM in the hidden field. So let's toggle individual form fields on, add an item, and paste our ID for the hidden field. And that's pretty much it. As we submit the form, the UTM will get saved in the cookies. In this case, it's going to save my campaign. Before we test it out, let's add another action after submit, a simple redirect. We'll redirect to a simple thank you page. Now let's see it all in action. Let's use our link with the information in place to visit the first page again. Let's fill the form fields with some data, and let's click on Send. The form was successfully submitted, so we're going to be redirected to our thank you page. Now, if we open the inspection tool and we go to the Application tab and navigate to Cookies, you will see that we have the UTM campaign cookie containing my campaign as data, and it has followed us to the thank you page. It's as easy as that. We'll be checking out the cookie dynamic tag next, so let's go back to the Elementor editor here in the thank you page. This is simply a teaser of what we can do with it. So for now, let's delete it and let's fetch the cookie we just saved with the Save Cookies form action. Let's pick our dynamic tag. Let's specify the ID of the cookie, which is what's called a name here in the inspection tool. In this case, UTM campaign. We're working with a JS cookie here, as PHP in this case simply means that it existed before the page loaded. As such, we won't toggle this on now. Let's pick cookie as cookie type once again. This last toggle, is array, is used in case we want to return multiple data items from a single cookie, which stores more than one. But that's not the case now. Let's update and refresh the page on the front end. You'll see that our widget is displaying the information saved in the cookie. We can use this to do manipulation in many different ways, as we'll see later on. There's another thing we can do with this tag. Let's remove these other fields from this second form, replacing them with a simple acceptance field. Let's create another hidden field, label it the same as the one in the other form. In the Advanced tab, we're going to give it the same ID once again, UTM campaign. But this time, we're going to use our cookie's dynamic tag in the default value field to catch the UTM. Same as always, we're picking cookies as the cookie type. We're doing this because normally, you would lose the UTM parameters when moving to a second page. But by setting this up this way, we can keep tracking them. This means that if we're careful, we won't lose any of this information as long as the user keeps their session open. If we refresh and go back to the front end, we can see we have our acceptance button. But by using the inspection tool, we can see the hidden field, which has UTM campaign as its value. We can do the same thing to catch and keep the name of the user by going back to the first form and adding another item in the Save Cookies form action settings. Let's call it name and use the same ID to connect the field. Visiting this same page, making sure we use the link with our UTM and filling the information again. Both the UTM parameter and the name will get saved as cookies. As we're redirected to our thank you page, let's do something a bit more complex to show both items of data that we've saved in a single widget. Let's get rid of this title widget and use Gloo's composer. Here in the composer settings, the first variable name is going to be cookie. And for the value, we're going to be using the cookie's dynamic tag to catch the UTM parameter. Let's add a second variable. We'll call it name, use the cookie's dynamic tag again, but this time we're going to catch name. With that done, we can write our text in the composer field. Hi name, this is the campaign you used. Cookie, it's not showing anything at the moment, but it will on the front end. In the meanwhile, let's just do some styling. Once that's done, and the page is saved and refreshed, you can see that the composer widget is dynamically showing both of the data bits we saved into cookies. Pretty useful, isn't it? And that covers the cookie's dynamic tag and the Save Cookies form action. Let's move on to interactor here in the page settings, where we'll take a look at the cookies connector. What we'll be achieving here is saving information into a cookie on page load. We'll define the firing event in our trigger to be ready, which means page load. Let's set it to fire once only. We'll be back here in a minute to connect everything. But that's our trigger done. Let's define the variable we want to save into our cookie. We'll be using UTM campaign once again, and we're going to use the request parameter tag to catch it. Again, let's set the type as get and the parameter name as UTM campaign. Here in the cookie connector proper, we'll give the cookie we'll be saving a name, set the cookie type, and select the variables to be saved within it. To test that the setup is working, we'll create an alert event as well to give us some feedback. With that done, let's go back to our trigger and connect both event to fire and cookies to save. Let's update and go back to our page to see it all in action. Here's the alert, and if we open our inspection tool, we'll see the cookie has been saved successfully under the name of my cookie. And that's how you easily save a cookie using interactor. We can of course use any other interactor trigger to fire any event and save any cookie along with it. We can then use this along the previous features to save cookies and pre-fill hidden fields within a form, using the cookie's dynamic tag. We would want to do this, for example, if we want to keep tracking certain information, if the user has to go through some pages before they arrive to our form. In that case, we'd be saving that data into cookies with interactor as soon as the user has landed on our site, and then feed it back into the form after the user is done navigating through the rest of the journey. We can do the same to pass hidden information between two forms, a bit like we've showcased before. Except here in the cookie's dynamic tag, within the hidden field, we'd be changing the cookie ID to the one we saved with interactor. But this goes beyond forms, as the idea behind the cookie connector is to save cookies without the need of a form at all. We can then use that information in whichever way we like, as long as it complies with local regulations. Let's take a look at one of the ways we can utilize this saved information by using fluid logic, another great feature by Gloo. Let's find it in the Advanced tab of the Page Settings menu. Let's create a condition to check if the UTM parameter matches a predefined one, in this case, my campaign, which we've saved before. Let's name it and set the condition to is and contains, and we're going to use our cookie dynamic tag in the field. Let's choose the UTM campaign cookie for this one, while making sure in this case that we toggle on his PHP cookie. This is because we need to evaluate this data before the page loads. We want the return value to match, so we'll use my campaign. What this means is that this condition will only hold true if the user will visit the website using the My Campaign UTM parameter. Let's say we want to hide this form only for people that visit our website while presenting this UTM parameter. We'll go in the Form Settings to the Advanced tab, enable Fluid Logic, choose the condition chain we've just set up, and set the action to hide. Let's test it out. Fill out the form, click Send, and as we get redirected, you will see the form has been hidden. We can set it to show in the settings and it will. Thank you for watching. We're sure you've found this trio of features to be extremely powerful and versatile. Don't forget you can try them out for free by generating a sandbox website at demo.gloo.io, and that you can read more about them at gloo.io. Don't forget to like and subscribe and participate in the conversation on our social pages. You'll find all relevant links in the description below.